All right, so my name is Pieter Beku from IMEC in Belgium. I'm filling in for the project coordinator, Technical University of München, who could unfortunately not be here today. So the SHOP4CF project, in about 5 or 6 slides, stands for Smart Human-Oriented Platform for Connected Factories, with a strong emphasis on the human aspect. So why do we need the project? What is really the need that we meet here? We see that robotics still lack a widespread adoption in manufacturing, even though it's the way to make production agile. There's still a large psychological barrier of SMEs to adopt robot technology today, which is understandable. They are the first users, of course, of robotics. They don't have the knowledge on how to install a robot. They don't have the people trained to use the robot. So the robot is a bit the unknown beast for them, and that, in addition with the fact that they are mostly heavily understaffed, doesn't make it easier to break this barrier. They also fear that the investment, because the investment can be quite high, depending on the application area. They fear that they will be unable to have their money back. Right. So additionally, they are not aware mostly of the capabilities of modern robotic system. So they refrain from using a robot, even though it would make their production more agile, save costs, and at the end reduce their response times to change requirements on the market. So the goal of SHOP4CF is to break this barrier and have SMEs or large industry manufacturers really adopt this robotics technology. Another need, so the other problem is that we see that SMEs or manufacturing companies have a very high vendor lock-in. So learning a new system is time consuming, and the companies cannot afford maintenance of several systems. Therefore, they just decide to stick to one vendor for all applications, even if it's not the best choice for every specific applications. So some SMEs have the luxury to work with an integrator, but also at the integrator side, we see that the same issue arises of the vendor lock-in. So to increase the flexibility, we really need a seamless integration of the components of different providers, and this is where SHOP4CF plans to make a difference. So SHOP4CF will really provide a virtual marketplace in the form of a web shop with applications that can be downloaded and installed by the customer. The applications will cover various types of robots, applications, and really different aspects of the production line lifecycle. Some key features that we think are really important here. So the components should be really easy to download and install. We should be able to get them working in less than half a working day. They should come, of course, with full documentation and be easy to understand. And one idea or vision of the project is that the basic software that we offer should be open source so that it can be easily used by our customers. Our unique selling point, so we really have a user-centric approach in app development and the interoperability of our app. So we will start with some own pilots. I have another slide on that, to enrich really our offer of apps based on real life use cases. And then we also offer the possibility to participate with our consortium and with other external partners through open calls. What would be the benefits for collaborating with us? So we see 2 types of customers. So one type are the partners, of course, of the SHOP4CF project, either through open calls or the native partners. So we offer them scalability of their solutions by being part of a large network of providers and therefore increase their flexibility. We give them access to the knowledge of the partners of SHOP4CF. So we have 20 partners in SHOP4CF, each with their own expertise. We give them possibility to develop apps based on the open source software that we already offer in our marketplace. And then, of course, should give them access to more customers and be easier to maintain, for example, due to better connectivity and enable remote management, for example. for our customers. So we want to be cost effective, of course, because that's mainly the biggest driver in manufacturing or other industries. Is the cost, of course. Should be easy to use, flexible, vendor independent, very important. We are not bound to any vendor, so we're really independent there. Should be well documented, as I said before, and we should provide really reliable software. We think this is very important. So we really want to have or to reach the point where SHOP4CF really stands for quality software and quality platform. So who is invited to work with us and how? So we see two big groups, integrators and SMEs. We had some discussion in the beginning of the project who we should target first, but we see that we think it's necessary to target really both of these groups. So depending on the end user, there are different levels of engagement of integrators. Sometimes the integrator does the whole job and provides a turnkey delivery, but sometimes also the end user is heavily involved in this process or doesn't even have assets like an integrator available. So because it depends heavily, we will target both groups from the start of the project. So yeah, maybe good to mention, we only just started about 2 months ago, so we're really defining everything right now. So we have 4 corporate pilots. So to bootstrap the shop, the web shop, we have 4 corporate pilots to give us a good insight on what the requirements from industry are. And based on these requirements, we will select the necessary components and make them available through the web shop. So this should also prepare us for the pilot open calls next in the project. One example that we have, Volkswagen in Poznan has a process where they have to remove plastic caps from the bodywork of the car after painting it, which is a very tedious job and which would be perfect, of course, to automate. One other example is the use of AGVs to move items from one conveyor belt to another. And in these pilots, we will not only consider the robotic side, but also the connectivity, the human interaction, and last but not least, the safety aspects of these solutions. So we will have a few open calls for pilots. So in the beginning, you see a lot of pilot establishment calls. So really installing our software on the factory floor. And then at the end, we have also 2 extension calls to make sure that we fill the gaps. So for sure, there will be components that lack some functionality or that we see based on the results of the first pilots, what is the outcome there, and then we can extend our offering, and other partners can also contribute to our shop platform. So we have 20 partners, mostly academic partners, and some partners from industry, of course. So we have both. Each partner has its own expertise. Some will develop software modules for the shop, while other partners will ensure that the human aspect of the project is respected. Specifically, for example, at IMEC, we are specialists in wireless connectivity, which is very important, of course, if you want to connect items in factories. We also have lots of expertise in ultra-wideband positioning, which can be used to navigate robots through the factory, but also enhance the safety of the working people on the factory floor. To make sure that we provide high quality software, we will test some components first in an industrial lab environment where we have about 100 embedded PCs, as you can see on the picture, with lots of wireless interfaces and also 15 mobile units. So we consider this lab as a controlled test environment where we can quickly add and test certain features and also add hardware before actually going to the shop, to the factory floor. So we see this really as an intermediate step to make sure that our software, our proof of concepts, are mature enough before we install them. And maybe if the system allows it, I would show a video, but I don't know if that will work here. So this is just a picture of mobile robots moving around our industrial lab. This is then a picture of how it looks. So you see is a lot of metal So we think it resembles really good the factory floor. And then one other thing I would like to show is that we have more factory environment with some racks installed, where we can use ultra-wideband positioning, for example, to automatically fly around with drones and do, for example, inventory management in an orchestrated way. So this concludes my talk. I will be happy to answer any questions after this webinar through email. So thanks a lot.